This week on Dumb Pitches, I'm back. It's me. And we're going to talk about my worst crowd work ideas. Ask someone why they got divorced. We get in depth on that one. Talk to a puppet. Guess people's relationships. It's not good. I'm actually fairly embarrassed about this episode, but you're going to love it. Here we go. Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. Today, it's been a while since I've done an episode, and I had, I guess, an experience recently that prompted what I'm going to talk about today. But so we normally do the good ideas in the beginning. You already know my good ideas, so I figured I would just mention some of the live dates I have coming up. I'm just going to say the cities, I guess, that I have coming up. So you can go to monicanevi.com. There's a button that says live shows, I think. It used to say see me live, but too many people, like porn sites, would send it there on accident. Like they thought it was a webcam or something. So I think it says live shows now. And then it has my dates, which are updated through March, I think. But this weekend I'm in Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, Friday and Saturday at the Comedy Attic, Sunday at 3 p.m. at Black Circle Brewing in Indianapolis because it's the Super Bowl, so you can come to a show before the Super Bowl. Next week I'm in Portland, Oregon. The week after that I am in Seattle and Tacoma. Oh, and Eugene. Yes, Eugene, Oregon. Then we have Little Rock, Arkansas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Rochester, Minnesota in March. Another theater show in Renton, Washington, where I'm from. That's March 26th. Jenny Zagrino's headlining. Get tickets for that. That'll be great. Some other Seattle and Olympia, places like that, dates on there. And I'm headlining the Crocodile in Seattle on March 6th. That's good. And then off in the future, we have, Boise. I should have looked at my calendar for this. But I know Boise's on there. Astoria, Oregon. Other places. There's other places. Anyways, monicanevi.com/calendar works, or monicanevi.com, and then click on the live shows button and come and see me live. That's the best part of this, right? Okay. This week I figured I would share my bad ideas as far as crowd work has gone. I feel like I haven't talked about stand-up specifically in a little while, but I was reminded because I did make a poor crowd work choice a couple weeks ago in Vancouver, Washington, which is near Portland if you don't know. But okay, so if you don't know what crowd work is, if you see, like, there's heckler videos, that's kind of crowd work, but that's more like dealing with a heckler, I guess. Crowd work is just like when you're talking to the audience, like crowd interaction kind of thing. And so a lot of times, especially right now, comedians, including myself, will post videos of their crowd work instead of your material, because then you don't, I want you to be surprised when you come see me in real life. So there's a lot of a little bit more crowd work going on right now, I think, just for that reason. But also I filmed my special in a few weeks ago in Philadelphia, and I worked really hard on that material, and now I'm kind of tired of doing the material. So crowd work is welcome at this point, and it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. For the most part, it goes fine. But the reason it can go awry is because you're guessing what these people are, if they're drunk, or what their story, who they're there with, or why they're talking to you. I don't ever start crowd work of like, hey, what do you do for a living? Like, you would have had to make a noise or something, or something have gone on before that I would comment on. And so I think I'm going to start with a different one. Yes, because now I was learning experiences, because now I don't do this. But the bad idea was to guess the relationship of the table. Okay. So 2 people at a table. The first time this happened, I was in Richland, Washington, at a club called Jokers. And I think it was like one of the first few times I had headlined a full weekend at a club. And I just was gonna guess. I think they were talking to each other, and so I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Shut up," basically. But you're like, share with the group. Did you bring enough for the class? That's what my crowd work starts with. And I was like, "Oh, well, this is fun. Just looking at see this, you can't judge a book by its cover. Just looking at them, I said, "Well, what a fun Thursday! You're hanging out with your mom." And I think maybe people thought that was being mean, but it was it looked like a bigger age difference maybe than it was, but it looked like a significant age difference. And they were like, "We're married." And I was like, "Well, fuck." Like, I just kept, for the rest of the set, I kept going back and being like, "It's not that you look old or anything." Like, it was the worst. Oh God. Yeah, because if it's an older dude, you're like, "Yeah, that's creepy. That happens all the time with like a younger lady." But I just didn't in my head suspect that they were dating. And I felt really bad, which is why I kept like acknowledging it as I was going. But then after the show, you're like, "I'm so sorry." Normally when I do crowd work, even because I'm never really mean, but when I do afterwards, I'm like, "Hey, thanks for letting me pick on you, thanks for letting me talk to you," or whatever. And you're like, "Oh, that was great," or they're like, "Sorry, I was talking." But this, I had to literally apologize, and she was not happy. They left pretty quickly. But that taught me to not guess people's relationships. However, I did do it again. Not that long ago. I think it was in April in Coeur d'Alene. And I think I was being facetious by saying this because it was the same situation. It was a much older woman and a younger guy. And I was like, it was oddly, like, the room we were in it was kind of a cave is what it felt like. Like, it had like a wine cellar behind me kind of thing. And then it was like romantically lit, which is what I like all comedy shows to be. No. And then they had like a bottle of wine on the table and stuff. So it was like a romantic situation, And I was like, well, I'm not going to guess. I've made that mistake before. So are you guys on a date? Or are you, and it was like, "It's my mom." And I was like, "Okay, that's happened to me before." And I was like, which I should have guessed, because where else do you take your mom to hang out but a romantically lit show with where you share a bottle of wine, like you do with your mom. What? Oh, man. Well, and then I ended up knowing the guy. We played basketball together when I was in like 4th grade. It was the most random thing. And we had like talked, like doing the crowd work for a while. And then I was like, he didn't really notice. I didn't notice for a while. And then finally, once I asked their names, he was like, "It's Doug." And I was like, "Oh, man." And I like turned to the other side of the audience and I go, "You guys want to hear something crazy?" And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Doug and I played basketball together when we were in like 4th grade." And he was like, "Holy shit, Monica." And then he like came up on stage and gave me a hug. It was like it was so fucking random. But then I was like, "Okay, so what's going on?" We start like crowd work talking about what's going on with his mom, because he's like, "Oh, she's dating someone now and stuff." And I was like, "Last time I was around you, you had a dad." And they kind of like, everyone laughed, because I was like, "Oh, what? Clearly people got divorced." And then he looked at me and he was like, "Mm-hmm." And then in my head I was like, "Oh, he died. I should stop right now." Yeah, which I did stop, thank God. But maybe if I hadn't had that first bad experience of guessing relationships, would I have not known to continue to talk about his dead dad. Oh, man. It was okay. But the one that happened most recently that made me think of this, and I think, have you ever had an interaction? Blake's here. Blake's always here.
Hi.
Have you ever had an interaction where you think about it later, where you're like, I wish I didn't do that. Like, you can't, like, it bothers you for like a long time. You're like, "Remember that one time I said something weird?"
Yeah.
This is what this experience feels like to me.
Okay.
because they were talking, like the guy who was hosting the show, it was his wife's friend that was there, and they were all kind of, it was a smaller room, so everybody's drunk and there's a little bit of banter. Like they know him too, right? So crowd work had been done before. And the friend is single, and so he was kind of like, oh, well, she asked for, if there was a comedian that was single kind of thing, hook me up with one of your friends. And we were all like, oh, God, comics. You don't want to date comics, whatever. So when I got on stage, I immediately, I made some joke about dating comics and how that wasn't, maybe he wasn't a very good friend to offer up comedians, or maybe she had to be in a bad place to like want to date a comedian, which is a lighthearted, that's fine. But then I was like, so are you, like, what's the deal? Are you single or whatever? And it came up that she was divorced. And I could have just been like, that's fine. Or like, how long ago was that? Whatever. But for some reason, I was compelled to ask why they got divorced. Like, that's never going to be a good answer. I don't know what I was thinking. If it was going to be, I don't know why in my head it was probably cheating. And so I was like, cool, that would be, not that that's something you want to bring up, but that would be more fun to talk about as far as her moving on, dating someone else, like that seemed to go together. It wasn't cheating, turns out. That did not work in my favor. And she was like, I was like, you don't have to share this, is, not a big deal. We don't have to know about it. But then I was like, it's just a safe space, though. I just want you to feel. And she's like, yep, okay. And so she's like, oh, he's an alcoholic. And I was like, this is not. So I did the only thing I could do, which was to pander and go, well, I'm glad that you were strong enough to move on, and we're happy that you're here, and, whatever. And then everybody clapped because it's like, yeah, you got out of a bad situation, but it's not funny, And then I was like, well, maybe comics would be better. And I was like, well, some of them are sober. And her face just was like, she wasn't enjoying it at that point. You know what I mean? And then I almost couldn't turn to that side of the stage for the rest of the night because I felt bad. And it was weird because she could have not said it, I suppose. But also she's on the spot in front of whatever, 50 people. It wasn't that many people. But still, it was, a room full of people. And I've been thinking about it since then because it was just like, why? I don't know what I was expecting. Honestly, it has to do with me not really wanting to do that much material right now. Eventually I got into it. But so I was like, oh, well, I'll just start by talking to the crowd. And we'll see where that goes. Okay, well, I want it to keep going. What? Why did probably one of the most traumatic things in your life happen? Let's get into that. And then here, I'll just derail. Well, the rest of the audience was fine with it, which probably made it worse for her because they're just like kind of laughing and lighthearted about this poor woman's divorce. That was clearly like, if you're with someone who is having a drinking problem, it's not a one-time thing. It's been years probably that she had to deal with it and go back and forth. Should I leave this person? How do we get help? All this stuff. Like, it wasn't just like I caught him cheating one time. It was not that that's any better, but it just, I don't know. Like, it just never crossed my mind not to ask someone about their personal trauma in front of a whole audience. I don't know. It's not, maybe because that's what, you talk about it, or comedians themselves are a little more, they talk about personal traumas, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And this is my apology, I suppose. So I know not to ask about relationships, how you guys are together or whatever. That's what I'll ask. How do you guys meet? Are you together? How long have you been together? Are you together is a good one. But, and then also maybe don't ask, why did you get divorced? How did they die? I'm probably going to scratch that one off the list. I've never said it, but that seems like that would be in the same vein of, because sometimes people will offer that stuff up of just being like, oh, my husband died last year, so we're happy to be at a comedy show. So the worst thing I could say there is, really, how did he die? Like, that would be, oh God, I'm embarrassed. I don't. I haven't done an episode by myself in a while, and now I forget how, like, actually kind of embarrassing saying these things. This one's fresh, too. Like, I do still feel bad about it. Oh, man. Oh, anyways, Vancouver, great show.
Awkward.
Yeah, it was real awkward. But then, okay, so then there's the situation where you have to decide whether you're going to say something or not, right? So that's usually when someone's really drunk and they're just like, they're not even yelling at you, they're just being disruptive. So usually they're talking to each other or just making noises or dying. I don't know what super drunk people say. I've had people fall out of chairs and shit, you know, like really drunk. And then, or if they're getting kicked out and you like can't just keep telling your jokes over this thing happening because everyone's like, what the fuck? Like looking at them, or they are getting kicked out and you have to like wait for them to be done kind of thing. That happened one time. This whole table got kicked out, like right here. It was really close to the stage, like on my right. And the one lady, because it was the two guys that were with their wives, it seemed like, they were just being dicks and like just kept, they were trying to heckle, you know, whatever. And we're going back and forth, but that's not, it was like a nice club. That's not really how it works. So they had been warned a few times. And then finally the manager came up and just put their check on the table and said, you guys need to go. And then one of the ladies was so fucking sad. I wasn't headlining, but somebody who was headlining, she was like, had like a movie he was in for him to sign. Like they were like really excited to be there to see the headliner, and then they got kicked out on my set. And she was just still sitting there after the whole table left, like with her head down, like just sipping on her drink. But I couldn't, like everybody's watching them, so I couldn't just do my material, and I had to look over it and I was like, are you just gonna stay and finish everyone's drinks, or what's your plan? And she like started to get up and leave finally, and then I was like, all right, whatever. So I do the rest of my set. After I get off stage, apparently they had like talked to the group, and the manager decided to let the two women stay, but their husbands got kicked out. So they sat in the back to watch the rest of the show or whatever. But when she sees me, she just started crying. And she was like, I'm so sorry. I would never do that. I would never disrespect. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, it was not you. It was your dickhead husbands or whoever. Like, and it was, yeah, she was just so upset by it. But I was like, I mean, it's the dangers of drinking, you know? So then you're in those situations where you're like, do I even say anything? Because sometimes it's like one outburst and that's it. And you're like, okay, hopefully that's the end of it. We don't need to rile this person up, and I'll just keep going. But then if it keeps happening, you have to acknowledge it, or else everyone's like, are you just going to can you not hear this? Like, why are you pretending this isn't happening? Twice I've had people answer the phone in the audience, which is just... what? Like, just such a weird thing. Like, if you need to just go outside, but just like answer in the middle and not move, like they're just on the phone. I took a guy's phone once. I was at a casino and he answered it, and I was like, did you just answer your phone? And he was like, and I go, give it to me, give me the phone. And it was very clear once I was on the phone that the person he was on the phone with was like super high or fucked up on something, like real. And this was fairly early in my career, so it was like, I don't even know. I was like asking about who he was, but then at some point I asked, what are you wearing? And she hung up, and I was like, she hung up on me. She's mad at you. And then he like gets up, and I was like, now you're going to leave? Like, after all that, now you're going to leave? You answered the phone in the middle of the fucking show.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And then the other time, this guy had been like just kind of talking the whole time, and then his phone went off and he answered. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Did you just answer your phone right now? I was like, go outside. Like, you have to become a teacher at that point where you're just like, get out in the hallway now. Think about what you've done. And I was like, oh, because he's our favorite before this, you know? Oh, gosh. I didn't get to take that one. But that's what, if the phone goes off, I will take it and talk to people. And then that leads me to the last one that I probably shouldn't have said anything. And I think we talked about this, but there's also a video on YouTube of me explaining the story. But this lady one time had a puppet in the audience.
What?
Have you heard this?
No.
Yeah, it was real weird. It was like a big puppet too, and it had like a stick, and like she could move its mouth and stuff. And it was taking everything in me not to say anything. But the puppet liked me, honestly. Just wah ha ha ha, laughing. He'd cover his face and stuff, But she's like acting out as the puppet. It was so weird. And they put her in the back, which was helpful, except that it was this weird room that was like used to be a church, so it was really light because it had like stained glass and stuff. And there was nobody sitting in the middle. Like there was like everybody in the front here, and then it's big space, and then they sat some people in the like very back row, and that's where she was. And so it was just distracting. I could see her, it wasn't dark enough for me not to be able to not pay attention. So I let it go for maybe, oh God, I don't know, 10 minutes of my 30-minute set. And then eventually I was like, is that a puppet? Like, what is happening? And then she refuses to respond to me herself. She has to talk to me through the puppet. I forget what the puppet's name was. Steve or something. I don't know. But then, and she would like put it right in front of her mouth. So I couldn't even hear what she was saying, really, So I'm trying to do crowd work with this puppet. And I can't really hear it. It was the weirdest, like, because when I get off stage, the headliner that night was like, they told me about that lady with the puppet. They said, like, she seemed like she had special needs when she came in. And I was like, cool. I'm glad they fucking told you that before I got on stage and was like, who's the fucking crazy person with the puppet? But then I talked to her afterwards, and maybe she did also have special needs, but she was really drunk. And she kept drinking. Like, she had like 3 wines when we were just out in the merch area.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like a therapy puppet or something.
What was it? Oh man, emotional support puppet. But yeah, and then her husband was with her, and he was just kind of like, it's her night to drink, I'm driving kind of thing. So I don't know, but she like brought the puppet everywhere with her, and then she somebody before the show was like, yeah, I saw her out, because they had like this little cafe area outside of the theater, and then you'd go into the theater, and she was like feeding the puppet beforehand. And so maybe that's why they were like, I don't know what the deal is with the puppet, but we're not going to tell her she can't bring the puppet in, which was fine. And it would have been, and the headliner didn't say anything to her. But the whole time, it's just like, I mean, the puppet fucking loved the show. All right. Big fan, that puppet. But, and I probably should have let that one go too. Nothing really happened. Oh, in that video that's about it, though, on my YouTube, it has the clip of me actually, because that set was filmed. It has the clip of me actually talking to the puppet. So I can't remember what it says, but there's evidence of it. And I do think they turn and like get... It's a purple puppet, very Sesame Street-esque, with like a Hawaiian shirt on, just vacation Steve, the puppet. Just having a good time, seeing a comedy show. Oh my God. I can't remember any other really bad crowd work choices on my part, it's it's a muscle you don't have until you've been doing stand-up for a long time and you've had to deal with weird shit like this, because then next time someone has a puppet, I will be better equipped to deal with it. Next time somebody answers their phone in the fucking audience, hopefully I don't have to deal with it. There'll be a security guard. Next time someone brings up they're divorced, I will not ask them, why did you get divorced? What a stupid fucking question. I'm still beating myself up a little bit about that one, because I don't know what I was anticipating, what I was expecting. What would be the best case scenario? Even if she was like, oh, I caught him. Or maybe the best case scenario was that she cheated, because then she would be more like aware of it, or easier to like.
Then everyone in the audience would like shame her.
Yeah. Which that seems more fun than being like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Or good for you for getting out. They had also been divorced for like 7 years, which seemed like a long time, to now be like, all right, I'm ready to, I don't know. I will, don't worry, I'm punishing myself enough for this. And I'm telling you, yes. But now I'm afraid somebody's going to come to live shows and be like, ask me why I'm divorced. It's embarrassing. Also, my birthday was on Sunday.
Happy birthday.
I turned 32.
Oof.
So Sunday to then Tuesday evening, I sprained my shoulder playing dodgeball. So much so, like, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel good. I can't throw anymore. And then I couldn't sleep last night. Today's Wednesday. Couldn't sleep last night because the pain was real bad. And I had to go to urgent care this morning.
Oh.
2 days into 32, and I'm just, which is the most millennial injury of all time. It was an adult recreational dodgeball league. And I hurt myself. But it gave me some drugs. So that's fun. Hope that
Nice.
it heals up. Oh, man. All right. Well, you guys have been very fun. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thank you for watching, whatever you're doing. Make sure you subscribe, join our YouTube memberships. There's a bunch of bonus content on there. It's not expensive. You also get these episodes at least a day before. Actually, I've been putting them up 2 days before for the members only. And rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. That would be a wonderful birthday gift. If you haven't given us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be awesome. I think you can do it on Spotify and stuff, but I don't know who you're mad at. Whoever you're not mad at and you're currently using to listen to things, do a rating on there. I don't know how stuff works anymore. Yeah, and come see me live, monicanevi.com. Check out the calendar. It's even better than me telling you my terrible crowdwork ideas. You can see it in real life. See me make some crowdwork mistakes in real life, monicanevi.com. But right now, you can just keep watching dumb pitches.
You're weird.
Yes.